The Path of Exile 2 developers Grinding Gear Games have released one last patch before the holidays. There's a lot of great changes in here, so let's go over some of the more impactful ones. Checkpoint fast traveling is now in the game. Once you've discovered a checkpoint in an area, you can continue adventuring and teleport back to that checkpoint. They've also added more checkpoints to entrances and exits. The passive tree respec costs will now be reduced. The cost in the beginning and the middle of the endgame will now be reduced by about 40 to 50%. Trial of the Sekima's honor damage now scales damage based on how close you are to an enemy by up to 35% less damage. Also, the damage over time was dealing 3 times as much honor damage as it should have been because honor resist wasn't applying correctly. Grinding Gear Games has agreed with the community feedback regarding the balance of the endgame and have taken some steps to improve it. Maps no longer have additional elemental resistance penalties inherently applied at tier 6 and 11 or higher maps. Chaos damage now scales less aggressively in the endgame, so chaos resistance isn't as crucial. Critical strikes from monsters across the board now deal 40% less damage. They disabled the volatile crystal modifiers on rare monsters. This was an on-death effect which was hard to avoid and often one-shot players. They also made volatile plants modifier do significantly less damage for similar reasons. This should help improve endgame survivability and reduce the amount of one-shots players were experiencing. Charm modifiers on belts, which add additional slots to your character, will now start appearing earlier with +1 starting at level 23 and +2 at level 64. These should just be implicits on the belt or obtained through a quest, but I digress. They're also adding 2 new support gems, Tremors and Biddings. Tremors can be used to give multiple more aftershocks to skills with a damage penalty, and Biddings can be used to give more damage to command skills of supported minions. Grinding Gear Games are going to do a larger pass on skill and support gems, primarily buffing lesser used gems. There will be more in the patch notes in the coming days, but here are the highlights they gave us so far. They're removing the downside to the fire, cold, and lightning exposure support gems, but giving them a 120% mana multiplier. Improvements to rolling slam and all shield skills in the mace section. Improvements to various bow skills, especially skills used to generate frenzy charges. Improvement to bone spells and chaos damage over time spells in the occult section. Improvements to various crossbow skills, especially those at higher tiers. And improvements to underachieving quarterstaff abilities. And now for the nerfs. Skeletal Arsonist spirit cost now matches the other 2 skeleton mages. This should result in a slight decrease in the number of arsonists in the higher levels. A nerf to the damage over time component on very high levels of Tornado and Vine Arrow. These were never intended to deal damage themselves, but more so act as a way for other skills to propagate damage. Magnetic Salvo now only uses your stuck lightning arrows as opposed to those created by your party members. If you like short form patch notes like these, please like, subscribe, and comment below what you think about the latest Path of Exile 2 patch.